Good morning. Today we are going to start with the topic rights and duties of the buyer. Okay. First we will see the rights of the buyer. Thereafter we will see the duties of the buyer. What are the rights of the buyer? The buyer is having right to take the delivery of the goods as per the contract. Means he can insist the seller that as per the terms and conditions of contract, I want the goods. Means he is having a right to have delivery as per contract. Okay. Now the second is what? Right to reject the goods. Now if the seller sends or delivers the goods which are less than contracted for or more than contracted for, or they are mixed with other goods, then he is having a right to reject it. So here what the option is there? He can reject the whole, he can accept the whole, or he can accept the quantity which is he has ordered and he can reject the rest. Means if the goods are more, the delivery of the goods has taken place and the seller has sent more goods, then he can accept whatever was contracted for and he can reject, he can give back the extra goods. So he is having a right to reject the goods. Okay. The third is right to repudiate. Repudiate means to cancel the contract. Unless otherwise agreed, the buyer of goods has a right not to accept the delivery thereof by installments. Means if the seller is selling the goods by installment, but the terms and condition don't show it like installment was agreed beforehand. Means the buyer has clearly told that I want the goods, the whole goods in one transaction only. No installments will be allowed. You have to give all the goods at that particular time. If this is a condition, then the seller has to give make delivery of the goods, the whole quantity of. He can't make installments. But if he makes installment, then the buyer is having a right to repudiate, means right to cancel the contract. Okay. The next is what? Right to notice of insurance. Means when the goods are coming by sea route, there are chances that the goods may get deteriorated because of the moisture and all. So here what the buyer can tell the seller, better you insure the goods and then send the consignment. So here he is having a right to notice of insurance. Everywhere the basic concept is what? Unless otherwise agreed. Means the parties can agree otherwise also, but the law says that this is a right. Okay. So here also it is mentioned unless otherwise agreed, where goods are sent by the seller to the buyer by a sea route, the buyer has a right to be informed by the seller so that he may get the goods insured. Okay. So he is having a right to get insured. Next is right to examine. The buyer is having a right to examine the goods. When the goods are being sold, he is taking the delivery. At that time he can check the quantity, whether whatever was described or whatever samples he has seen, if the goods are being sent according to the sample, according to the description or not. So the buyer should get opportunity to examine those goods. See, the buyer has a right to examine the goods which he has not previously examined before he accepts them. The seller is bound to afford the buyer a reasonable opportunity of examining the goods for the purpose of ascertaining whether they are in conformity with the contract or not. Okay. So right to examine is there. Next is right against the seller for breach of contract. Means here the seller is making breach of contract. Now if he makes breach, then he is having many rights. The buyer is having many rights. What right he has? First, he is having a right for getting compensation, suit for damages. Where the seller wrongfully neglects or refuses to deliver the goods to the buyer may sue the seller for damages for non-delivery. Okay. So he is having a right to file a case for compensation. The next is suit for price. Means the seller has given the delivery of the goods. Okay. Now when he gives the delivery of the goods, the buyer has to pay for it. But take otherwise, if the buyer has paid the price and the goods are not delivered, then he can recover the price. He can take back the money. That is suit for price. Next is suit for specific performance. The buyer may sue the seller for specific performance if he rejects to deliver the goods. When the goods were specific, when the goods were ascertained, okay, means the ownership has passed to the buyer, sale has taken place, but now the seller is not giving the goods, the seller is not delivering the goods. So here the buyer is having a right. He can approach the court and tell the seller to give the goods, means specifically perform the contract. Okay, this is suit for specific performance. The next is what? Suit for breach of warranty. Suit for breach of warranty, when the seller has made a breach, and if that breach is a breach of warranty, then we have seen, if a warranty is broken, the contract can't be cancelled, but he is having a right to get compensation. He can file a suit for compensation for breach of warranty. Okay, so here what are the rights of a buyer for breach of a contract? He can file a suit for damages, he can file a suit for price, he can file a suit for specific performance. Next is he can file a suit for breach of warranty. He can repudiate the contract also, isn't it? If the condition is broken, then he can cancel the contract, and he also can file a suit for interest. Means when he is asking for compensation, that is a pecuniary amount, that is money, so he can ask interest on that. All these are the rights of a buyer. We'll revise. Right to have delivery as per contract, right to reject the goods, right to repudiate, right to give notice, right to have notice of insurance, right to examine the goods. Next is right against seller for breach of contract, and in this many subpoints are there, means he can file many kinds of suit, that is suit for damages, suit for price, suit for specific performance of contract, then suit for breach of warranty, then he can repudiate the contract before due date, and also he can file a suit for getting interest. Okay, these all are the rights of the buyer. Now the duties of the buyer. What will be the duties of the buyer? He is taking the delivery, means he has to pay the price. When he accepts the goods, then he has to pay the price in exchange of that possession. Duty to accept goods and pay for them in exchange of possession. It is his duty that he has to take the goods, accept the goods. Okay, now if the goods, when the sale takes place, the seller is not having that possession of the goods, then production is going to take place, manufacturing is going to take place, then this buyer has to apply for delivery. So duty to apply for delivery is also there, where the goods are ready and I am also ready to take the delivery of the goods, better give. Like that he has to tell it to the seller. Okay, so duty to apply for delivery. Next is duty to demand delivery at a reasonable hour. He is an ordinary prudent man, so at working hours or reasonable hours he can ask for the delivery. He can't say that any time, any odd time at night, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock he wants the possession or he wants the delivery. Like that condition he should not put. So duty to demand delivery at a reasonable hour. Next is duty to accept installment delivery. Duty to accept installment delivery and pay for it if installment is already been agreed. Means in between the seller and the buyer there was agreed that the seller will give the goods in installment and he has sent the goods in installment, then the buyer has to accept the installment and pay for it. Okay. Now duty to take risk of deterioration in the course of transit. When sale has taken place, SALE has taken place, the ownership has passed from the seller to the buyer. So when the goods are in transit and in the transit if something happens, some damage takes place, then the risk is of the buyer. Okay. So duty to take risk of deterioration in the course of transit. Next is duty to intimate the seller where he rejects the goods. Now when the goods are been sent for approval or return, and if he rejects, then he has to inform about the rejection. So duty to intimate the seller where he rejects the goods. Next is duty to take delivery. If in accordance with the contract the seller is sending the goods, the seller is doing the delivery, then he has to take the delivery. If he takes the delivery, then the other duty is duty to pay for the price. Now if the seller in accordance with the contract has sent those goods, delivered those goods, but the buyer has not accepted the goods had to get returned back to the seller, then the seller is at loss. So the buyer has to pay damages for non-acceptance. Means the seller has sent the goods but the buyer has not accepted. So the charges which have taken place, the trouble which has been taken place by the seller, for that the buyer will be liable. Okay, these are the duties of the buyer. We'll revise. Duty to accept the goods and pay for them in exchange of possession, duty to apply for delivery, duty to demand delivery at a reasonable hour, duty to accept installment delivery and pay for it, duty to take the risk when the goods are in transit. Next is duty to intimate the seller where he rejects the goods, duty to take delivery. Next is duty to pay price and duty to pay compensation for non-acceptance. Okay, here we have completed the rights and the duties of the buyer. The rights of the buyer are the duties of the seller, and the duties of the buyer are the rights of the seller. Okay, bye bye. See you in the next video.